So the men and women who are here today, and the reason I'm here in Iowa, is to stand with and to salute the excellent work of men and women who stand in favor of civil marriage because they are conservative, not in spite of being conservative, not in spite of being a conservative. If you think about what permitting civil marriage is about, it's actually consistent with conservative principles. So for one, I'm a conservative because I believe in more freedom, and I believe in less government. I think that we are endowed by our Creator, not by politicians, not by the government, not by a bureaucrat, with inalienable rights, including the pursuit of happiness. If you believe that, what could be more central to the pursuit of happiness than choosing the person that you love, that you have the right to marry? What could be a more basic and a more fundamental and a more core right? A right in which the individual has, and frankly, the government shouldn't be involved. How can smaller and less intrusive government not include the right to choose the person that you would like to marry? Second reason a lot of us are conservatives is we believe in family values. We think that it is good for society when families are promoted, when stability is promoted. It's one reason that I, for one, was proud when I was working in Congress to have helped out members of Congress that were working on behalf of welfare reform. It's a reason you hear a lot of people talk, and I think rightly so, about the dangers of family disintegration. These are important things. So if you believe that, isn't a good way to promote family values and to discourage family disintegration to allow families to form in the first place? Isn't that important? Doesn't that make sense? How does standing in the way of two adults who love each other not discourage rather than promote family values? If you think about it, what in fact it does, and you're seeing it across Iowa, is it makes our society stronger, it makes it more caring, it makes it more focused on the long term. It creates stability in the lives of children across this country who are raised by two members of the same gender, who are loving moms or loving dads, and because of what happened in Iowa, now have a stability and an ability to know that their home is more secure. We're also conservatives because we believe in protecting religious liberty, and we believe in the golden rule. Protecting religious liberty. We know that here in Iowa, we know that in New York, we know that in New Hampshire, all around the country, there are civil marriage laws. And what those laws do, in addition to promoting freedom, and in addition to encouraging family values, is they protect religious liberties. How? They say that if it's a church, or a synagogue, or a Knights of Columbus, and their doctrine says they don't perform the ceremony, then the ceremony doesn't happen there. And that's as it should be. But there's something else. Even though many of us come from different religious traditions, so many of those traditions are rooted in the golden rule. Do unto others. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. So how does that apply here? Well, think about it. Put yourself in the shoes of your neighbor. Your neighbor works hard like you do. He or she pays the same taxes that you do. He or she may serve in the same military that you do. Shouldn't they be subjected to the same laws? How would you feel if you were in their shoes and you had special laws that applied to you that precluded you from marrying the person you love? Or put yourself in the shoes of the 14-year-old or the 12-year-old or the kid who's growing up. Sitting on your mom or dad's counter, sitting in their living room, is a wedding album. And it celebrates one of the greatest things that happened in their life when they chose to get married. As you thought about your own future, wouldn't you hope you'd have that same opportunity? So when you do unto others, when you think about the golden rule, it seems to me that allowing civil marriage is also consistent with permitting that to occur. And that's another reason that we as conservatives stand on behalf of marriage because we are conservatives, not in spite of being as conservatives. Now there are real-world practical implications. I'm talking about conservatism and philosophy and all that. But there are real-world implications that affect people's lives. One of them is before the Supreme Court. There's a woman in New York named Edie Windsor. She's an older woman. She is someone who had a partner for her whole life, and when her partner died, she ended up with a more than $700,000 estate tax, simply because they were a couple who were of the same gender. As conservatives who don't like taxes, and who think that a fundamentally unfair rule like that ought to be overturned, shouldn't we stand with Edie against such an onerous tax? That's a real-world implication. I have a good friend of mine who lives in New York, a couple They've been together for about 15 years. Because they live in New York, and if they came to Iowa, when they travel with their children, they're in a good place. But if they go to a number of other states in their country, they have to carry papers proving they have custody of the children in case, heaven forbid, something happens to one of the children and a medical decision needs to be made. The way they got those papers is by a judge sitting in their house for a week, watching them and ascertaining whether they in fact are fit parents. That happens all across America today. Not in Cuba, in America. And the fact is, that's unjust, it's unfair, and it's a very practical, not philosophical, but very practical fact that can be changed when other states follow what Iowa's done and civil marriage is available. I have another friend who's in a wonderful relationship with someone who lives overseas. And every 5 years, this wonderful couple has to go through an incredibly harrowing experience of worrying, how are they possibly going to be in a situation where the couple can stay together? How do they do it? So these are real world, actual implications. Not philosophical, not if it matters what you call it or not call it. The fact is, all across our country are couples who lose their homes, who pay unfair taxes, who worry about making medical decisions for their children who they care about and love, and who worry about whether a loved one overseas can be with their mate for life in this country. And it's all because of the fact that other states don't have what we have in Iowa, what we have in New York, and that is the right to civil marriage. Finally, it always interests me when I talk to people about this, what does it mean when you have marriage? Think about this state. There probably are 4,000 or 5,000 couples that are together today as married couples that weren't together before there was marriage in this state. And what does it mean? It means a whole lot to that couple. It means their lives are better. If they have kids, it means their kids live in a more secure home. It means that if you live in their neighborhood, there are two people, not one, who if you're sick or you're old, can look out for your house, can mow your lawn if you need the help, can make sure that if your child is wandering the street, that your child is taken care of. It means that when these folks get older, they in fact will be able to care for each other and the public taxpayer is protected. It means that their families feel better knowing that there's someone to look out for their son or their daughter. The fact is, for those 5,000 people and all the people in their lives, their families, their neighbors, their friends, their work colleagues, it's a better place to live. And who's it worse for? Can you find anyone? I was in a discussion with a state legislator in another state, and I explained to him why I felt civil marriage made sense. And he said to me, I'm against it. And I said, well, you've had it in your state for a few years. Can you find me one person, one example where it's worse? One example where the parade of horribles happened? The fact is, he couldn't. And so if you think about it, Iowa is a better place today because of the fact that loving couples can be married. It's a freer place, it's a juster place, it's a place with stronger families, it's a place with stronger neighborhoods, it's a place with stronger communities. The conservatives who stand here today are not alone. All across our country, from Dick Cheney about 8 years ago, to John Bolton, to Clint Eastwood, to Ted Olson, people who are very conservative, who are proud of their support for freedom, who are proud of their support for family values, who are proud of their support for the Golden Rule, believe civil marriage ought to be available. And obviously conservatives are not alone. We saw what happened in the past election. More Americans support the right to civil marriage than oppose it, and that number continues to grow every day. So I'm really honored to be here and stand with men and women who have taken the term Iowa first and proven it to be once again true, proving it to be true by standing up first for justice, standing up first for freedom, and standing up for conservative that are frankly American values that we look forward to continuing expanding across the country. I want to salute, we have the head of One Iowa with us today, and I want to salute and thank you for your wonderful leadership. There are a number of One Iowa staff. Raise your hand so we can give everyone involved a round of applause. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership. It's an honor for me to stand with you all today, and it's an honor to be back here in a wonderful city of Des Moines, and I appreciate members of the press taking time also to be with us today.